Okay, here's a look at what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to show you a basic setup of how to access your motion warping, and so we'll just add a dash using it. But this is mostly just to show you kind of how to go about accessing your motion warping inside of your sandbox character. Okay, so I'm going to work with a dash pose that I'm already working with, and to access your motion warping, you need to enable root motion on the animation that you're working with. So on your asset details panel, select that and search for root, and then make sure enable root motion is selected to be true. All right, and on this one, it's just a pose, so I'm going to add some frames. So I'm going to right click somewhere in the timeline and append the frames at end and just add like 20 frames. I'll add this uh, animation to the description anyways. I'll put a link in this for this. So I'm going to change the root position of this. So first off, I'm going to select the root and then set a key at the 0 location of the timeline, and then I'm going to go to the end of the timeline, make sure I'm selecting the root again, and then I'm just going to move the root a little bit forward, and then I'm going to set a key for this position in the timeline as well. You can set a key by pressing S or by going to those double arrows by the skeleton to access that. So I'm just doing this to give the root bone a motion inside of the animation, which is important to have in an animation. It needs to have some kind of root motion. And so once you have that done, you can right click the animation and create Montage. And inside of the Montage, we need to go down to where the notify is, where the 1 is. In that row, we need to right click and choose add notify state, and we want to select motion warping. All right, and just drag that to the beginning of the animation, and then drag it somewhere towards the end. And then where it says warp target name under root motion modifier, we want to name this warp target something like dash. Name it something you're going to remember, because we'll use it later. We don't need to use the warp rotation, so we're going to uncheck that, and that's all we need to do. So we're just using translation on this warp. Okay, so now let's add an input for this warping. We'll go ahead and name it something like dash, IA underscore dash. Go ahead and open that up. The GDC, open that up, and let's add a mapping. Let's go ahead and name it dash, and let's go ahead and give it an input. I'll just make it Q to be easy. You can add a gamepad input as well. It's good practice to do that for people who are using gamepads. I'm just going to make it the right thumbstick. Okay, so once that is done, let's go back into our Sandbox character, and let's go ahead and create an input for this dash. So right click IA and search for dash, the input we just created. And now we want to grab our motion warping. We're going to be using that in a second, but we want to drag off the started and search for play anim montage. And we're just going to use the dashing montage that we just created. And now let's drag the motion warping over. And from motion warping, let's add a warp target from location. And in the warp target name, let's go ahead and put dash. We've got to make sure it's spelled the exact same way. So copy and paste it in there, or hope that you're spelling it the right way. I recommend copying it and pasting it in there. All right, right click, and we need to get actor location. Right click, and we need to get actor forward vector. Okay, and from the return value of the actor location, we want to add. So from the get actor forward vector, return value and multiply. And right click on the lower value and change that to a float. Because we're going to multiply our forward vector by some unit. I'm going to put 800, and then we're going to add that value to our actor location. So we're getting our actor location, and then we're adding our forward vector times like some amount of units. So that's just giving us an amount of distance in front of our actor. and then we're going to set our warp location to that. So that's what we're going to dash to. We're going to dash to about 800 units in front of our character. So that's what that's trying to achieve. All right, so hit Q, and now you can dash. So this is just a quick basic setup to show you how to access your motion warping. You got to make sure you have your root, enable root movement enabled inside of your animation sequence. And then you got to make sure you have motion warping on your montage, and you have it to give it a name and call in that name inside your blueprint. And you can dash in the air too. Check it out. Check it out. All right, so thanks for stopping by. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you next time. Take care.